Hi, I'm Steven from SixStringers. I'm the founder of SixStringers and the creator of FretFixxer and FretMaestro. Now I'm looking for my toys here. Here we go. We have a FretFixxer for the bass and a FretFixxer for 6-string guitars. But there's the history, just spot leveling frets. And that's what we're talking about today. Sometimes all the frets are pretty bad and you need to do a full level. But a lot of times it's just one or two, maybe three, that are giving you a little trouble. You know, they're a little high and buzzing out and causing an early fret out, maybe a little bad tone. First thing you have to check, make sure the fret is not lifted out of the fret slot. That's really, really important. If it is, you can tap it back down and use a little CA glue and lock it in. I'm going to move this guitar support here because I'm going to check the neck, and I don't want the neck and the weight of the body have any flex here. Now it would be minimal, of course, but it would still be something. And to get it just right, I'm going to support it where it isn't going to flex. Before you do any kind of leveling work, you really must make sure that the neck is flat. And to do that, you need one of these, a not straight edge at the right scale for the guitar. Now, when you use the not straight edge, you want the kind that's going to stand up by itself like this one. And that way, I can use a flashlight and shine it under and see if I have any issues. The other thing is, you'll notice I'm pushing this guy towards the headstock so that all of these teeth of various sizes, like there are little teeth here and bigger teeth there, that they're up against the fret on the bridge side. That's where there's no finger wear, no string wear. Your finger and string wear is always going to be on this side of the fret, not this side of the fret. Okay? So we don't want to read any finger wear, like an older guitar, well played. All guitars, after a time, are going to get some little grooves in them from finger and string wear. And so we're going to read the ledger that is created on that side of the fret. And if we have little wear in there, we ignore that. What we're looking for is these little ledgers on each side of these frets, that there's no gaps in those. And that's going to tell us that the neck is flat. Okay, it's really important to have the neck flat because we're going to be looking for a high fret. And to do that, we're generally going to use a fret rocker. Now, alternatively, we can use a digital gauge. I really like these a lot. But most people, you can get these for about the best price I found right now. It's on our website, SixStringers.com, how-to/how-to. I have links to various things that we don't make or sell, but where I found the best price for you, including this, and the last best price was yesterday, about $58 with free shipping. Really good deal compared to $135 from, someplace else. But we'll use a fret rocker today. Now, a lot of people believe they know how to use a fret rocker. I mean, it looks so simple, right? And you just go like this and go like this and go like this, and you go along. Right? There's a high fret. And you can hear it clicking, I hope. So I'm going to mark it with a Sharpie. There you go. Now, what you cannot do with a fret rocker, we have a high fret. We can't do these three, including that high fret, and get an accurate read because that fret's high. So we either skip that fret or we take care of it first and then go. Okay. But you can't find a high fret and then reference that high fret for the next three. It's not going to work. Okay. But don't do that. So there's a high fret. Now, the evolution of spot leveling frets, it's quite a history. And the interesting thing is the history of guitar tools, it hasn't changed like in more than 100 years. Very, very, very little. And so back in the day, like triangular files, and these require a great deal of skill, patience, and a lot of practice. Because you're using it like this and you're rolling it and and you're trying not to hit the fretboard. You got to be really good. And some people still use them. They're very much into the art form. Okay. I'm not really into the art form. I'm more of a technical machinist kind of a guy, engineering kind of a guy. I like efficiency. I want to get the job done as easy with the least amount of hassle, with the least amount of skill, with the highest amount of precision possible. And so this isn't really going to work for me. Next, in the 50s, was the first time we saw the concave crowning file. Concave is basically an arc out of a circle. Not exactly a half circle, okay? Almost, not quite. But is an arc out of a circle. And so, concave. Now, because of that, frets are different widths, Some are like narrow, some are medium, some are wide. And if you use a wide file on a narrow fret, it's going to basically make the top of that fret flat because it's so wide. And then if you use a narrow file on a wide fret, well, you're going to step the cut, right? It's not going to kill the play of the guitar, but is it going to look very pretty? And so you would use this and a fret rocker, and you would file away a little bit, and check, and check, and check, and a little bit, and check, and check, and you would get it done. So I would say a big improvement over a triangle file. And then, not so long ago, something really cool came out. This looks like a fret rocker, but on each side it has a patch of diamond. And this has 300 grit diamond. I'm a big fan of 300 grit diamond for cutting. Okay, for finishing off and semi-polishing. I don't like it for cutting myself personally, because for one thing, nickel frets will clog that pretty easy. Okay, but the idea being, it would go across, we go here, and you sand away, file away, and we bring this high fret to the same equilibrium of these two reference frets. So pretty cool. You didn't have to go back and forth and measure. And not long after that, another outfit came out with these. Pretty much the same thing. Works the same way, except there's 3 pieces, and it's 240 grit, which I love. Faster cutting, very forgiving in terms of clogging compared to 300. And you have to polish the fret anyways with 600 grit paper and 800, 1200, 2000 if you want. So no matter what, you're going to have to do that. And that's going to clean up any filing marks anyways. Okay. So this works the same way. You can hear it cutting. Or you can hear this more so than you heard this, because this is only 300. This one you can really hear it. Right? And these are great. They saved a lot of time. They made the frets level. And, both of these outfits, there's more than one. There's actually more than 2. They say, you don't need to take the strings off. You can do it under the strings. And that's actually true when it comes to leveling the fret. However, the caveat is this. These are flat files. Flat files make flat top frets. And flat top frets means you've ruined the crown. You basically destroyed it. So you took 1 step forward and 2 steps back. That's how I see it. And so then you need to get the crowning file again. And to use this, you're not going to get this under the strings. That's not going to happen. So you have to get the strings out of the way. And the way I do it is, I don't take them off. I loosen them when I use a guy like this, which is called a string spreader, right? You see it right here. And it gets the strings off the neck, or should I say off the fretboard. And so that's cool. I'm not going to lose, like, these are like new strings. So thinking about all of that, one step forward, two step back, having flat top frets, and really you still have to get the strings out of the way, and you need an additional file. Now, these are the $85 to $100 range. And I figure if somebody's going to spend that kind of money to work on their guitar so they can, get a nice job done, they're also not going to buy some cheap crowning file. So that's going to be another 60 or 80 bucks for the crowning file that is the right width for the frets you're working on. If you're working on several guitars, you may need several of these. That's going to add up really fast. So in view of all of that, and in view of the fact that I like to get things done expeditiously and efficiently, I created FretFixxer. Now this is a solid chunk of stainless steel. This guy weighs almost 8 ounces. And this is for 6-string guitars, 7-string guitars. This is for the bass guitars. This guy's almost 9 ounces. And a solid stainless steel. And in the middle, there is a file block with 240 grit diamond. And unlike the crowning files, I say yesterday because, these were created in the 50s and they haven't changed since then. So instead of having a concave, like arc of a circle in there, when we look at new frets, they're not like that. No, they kind of come up like this. They don't like go round like that. They kind of come up like this, and that's called a conic curve. And that's what FretFixxer is. The file channel is a conic curve. So not only does it shape your fret crown better, it also makes the FretFixxer universal for all frets, from the narrow to the medium to the jumbo, right? And the reason that is because it's when you set it on top of a fret, and I want to let you know really clearly here, this is not to be used as a fret rocker, okay? And the reason is, if this fret is particularly wide at the crown, it's been worn and so it's flatter than it was and it's wider, this isn't going to sit all the way down on that fret because the wideness of the fret is wider than the depth of the file. So if you use it as a rocker, and I did have a customer do this. This is actually how I learned this. You have to listen to your customers. You're going to go, well, this thing is telling me that all of my frets are high. Yeah, that's impossible, right? Yeah, it's not a fret rocker. Please don't use it like a fret rocker. All right, now, to use a FretFixxer, there are a couple of ways. It comes with a handle, okay? A nitrile handle, very ergonomic, very friendly, no fatigue, right? And the handle has the cutout here for the file, and also the center block you see here. There are some like slots here, and you drop it right in the middle. When you mount it properly in the middle, it will not go from side to side. It will not move laterally. Okay? So you can use it with a handle or without the handle. I'm going to begin by using it without the handle. Now let's see, where's that fret? Right here. Now, when you rotate FretFixxer, it has different length sides, right? There's a cutting here that makes this a different length, and this one here is all the way across for the lower frets up here, and then this is for like the middle, and then you get like this guy right here, which is going to be for these frets up here, right? On this particular one, I'm going to use the full width there. And you want to file straight. You want to get yourself in front of it. And file nice and straight. Now something, well, I think a lot of people don't know about diamond files and really how they work. Now, a diamond file is a stainless steel fret's best friend. These are stainless steel. Now, it's going to take quite a bit more time to cut this than would be a nickel fret. Now, to use a serrated file, the metal must be at least 5 times harder than this, whatever it is you're filing. In this case, a stainless steel fret. But think about your kitchen knife. You know, you're chopping carrots, you're chopping potatoes, vegetables, and cutting meat and slicing bread, all that stuff. And you know, you sharpen your kitchen knife because it gets dull just cutting those things, and those things are not stainless steel. The knife is stainless steel, but the vegetables aren't, and still it gets dull. So this is like having a whole bunch of little knives in here made out of metal. Problem is, you're not going to be able to sharpen those. There's no way to do that, and so they're going to wear pretty quickly on stainless steel, and a fret file that is 5 times harder than stainless steel is not cheap. Okay? Not cheap, and still it's not going to last that long, and that's why diamond files. And diamond files can file in both directions, not just one. This guy only cuts in one direction. So the other thing, because it's stainless steel, the construction of a diamond file goes like this. The substrate, in this case stainless steel, the diamond, and what bonds the diamond to the substrate. And what bonds the diamond to the substrate is nickel plating. It's called an occlusion. You occlude the diamond with the nickel plating to the substrate. Nickel is a lot softer than stainless steel. So if you dig in, right, and you just like dig in, you're going to bind the diamond grit, and it's going to create a tug of war between the diamond held in by the nickel and that stainless steel. And the stainless steel being so much harder, it's going to win that tug of war, and you're going to be tearing out diamond grit. And once that starts, it goes really fast. That file just goes, it's gone. On the other hand, nickel frets, they're soft, right? I think we all know that. They won't tear the diamond out, but if you dive in, if you really just like drive it in, you're going to push that nickel into the grit, and it's going to clog the file, and it's not going to cut anymore. Now, with a 240 grit file, not so much a 300. In fact, not really a 300, but like with a 240 or more coarse, like a 150, 240, you can take a wire wheel and put it in a drill press. And just the tips of the wire, right? Like little picks spinning around at high RPMs, and just touch it along, and let the wire wheel pick out the nickel. If you jam it in there, that's not going to work. Just it doesn't take much. Lightly hold it there and just let it just pick it out little by little, and you can recover a file. Okay, a diamond file. Now that's not going to work with 300. Not in my experience, anyways. Now I've been using it without the handle, and now I'm going to use the handle. I have the FretFixxer on the fret. I'm just going to put it over the top like this. Now, something to know. Over time, this handle may not be as tight as when you first got it, because this diamond here is chewing the rubber up a little bit. And so the rule of thumb from day one is put your index finger over the front and apply a little bit of pressure. You don't need to be a gorilla. It doesn't take much. And it's nice and stable, but, you know, and this one's been around for a while. It doesn't happen quickly, but it will happen. Now, I'll let everybody know that, because I don't want you dropping a file on your guitar. So I use this handle this way, and I know that I'm on the fret perfectly, right? Put my finger over the front. Now, to advantage, I get more leverage, and you're going to hear that in the cutting. Can you hear the difference now? I'm getting a much more consistent mic. I have more control. And I go along. Pretty soon, it's going to be quiet. Now, this fret, definitely high in the middle. But the crown is there, and it's a beautiful crown. Looks like the original crown. And it's beautiful. And so the next thing you're going to do, I mentioned before, you have to polish after you file. It doesn't make any difference what kind of file you use, you have to polish. So I like to use tape. You can use those fretboard protectors, you know, the little metal strip with slots cut in them. I think they're great, but I don't use them because I don't want to have to hold on to it. And I don't have to hold on to the tape. So for me, I just feel like I have more control. You know, I'm not juggling things. 600 paper is going to do most of the work. I can go to 800, 1200. When you're going along, cleaning up the filing, smoothing out that fret, and then as you get to say 1000, 1200 paper, you can dampen the paper on a moist sponge and really put a shine on the fret. Really easy, right? And then if you want to, you can also then polish, right? Some people use Dremel buffing wheel type thing. If you're going to use a Dremel or anything like that, like a powered buffing wheel, be very careful. Don't let it stay on a fret too long, because the friction will cause heat, and the heat will soften the glue that's holding the fret in the fret slot. So my idea to use a Dremel is, I've got all my frets, right? And let's say I'm doing them all. I'll do this one, but I won't try to finish it. Then I'll move over to the next one, let this guy cool down. I'll move over to the next one, and let that guy cool down, and so on. And then come back and start all over again. Maybe 3, maybe 4 passes, because I don't want to overheat these frets and soften that glue. And it's not going to take me any longer to do it that way, and I'm not going to create a problem for myself. This is another thing I learned from a customer who I've never used a Dremel to polish frets, but he's an engineer, and we were talking, and he brought that up. We were talking about polishing frets, and he gave the warning signs of what to watch out for when you're using like a Dremel. Okay, so now we use one tool to level and beautifully crown the fret. One tool, one step, other than the polishing, right? Not one tool, one step forward and 2 steps back, and having to have another tool, not cheap, to repair the damage. It's, you know, you have to have the strings off, and then you still have to polish. Okay. All of these are in the same price range, including FretFixxer. It's right in the same. In fact, FretFixxer and a guy like this, pretty much the same price. And again, you don't you don't have to buy any other files. So that's FretFixxer. Under the base, that's the 6-string. Super, super easy to use. Doesn't require any special skills. A nickel fret was going to take maybe, I mean, if you're really, really, really careful and slow and methodical, you might spend 4 minutes on it when it's all said and done, including the polishing. A lot of times, 3 minutes, whatever. But you have to do the polishing, okay? So it's just planning 4 or 5 minutes to be, get it perfect. And that's all there is to it. I hope you like this video. I hope you give it a thumbs up. I hope you subscribe. And next video I'm going to make is going to be about the Omni Pro, the FretMaestro Omni Pro. And something I would like to say about how that works. When all the frets are wonky and you got to level the whole fretboard, the old long-standing way of doing that with a sanding beam and eyeball guesswork crowning files. And I'm going to show you in this next video, that's not a really good idea for somebody who isn't making a living at it. People that do that have spent a lot of time figuring out how to do it better, right? And it's not for novices, okay? That way of doing things. They're the 19th century tools and rules and methods. FretMaestro, on the other hand, just like FretFixxer, anybody can do it. No prior experience, no special skills. And the job you're going to get, the results you're going to get, no sanding beam can match. Just no way. No sanding beam and no crowning file, not even going to come close. And you'll see why in that video. Thank you for watching.